This is Algebra, lesson 3.3, working with percents. So, we're going to do a couple definitions first of all. Commission would be a percentage that a salesperson earns on a sale. So you might think about, I think the most obvious one would be real estate agents. When someone's selling your house, you're using someone to help you sell your house, they earn a commission or a percentage of the sales price as their payment. Usually places like car lots would have commissions, or jewelry stores would have commissions, but anytime they make a big sale, then they get the salesperson gets a portion of that sale as their payment. A tip would be a percent or money that you leave for a server if they do a good job. For any kind of service. So it's getting even more and more common now to see, tip buckets at fast food restaurants, but anytime someone or a worker does you a service and you want to give them a little extra to show your appreciation, that's called a tip. Last one is sales tax, and that would be a percent or money that goes to the government. You can have state tax, federal tax, local tax. In Minnesota, we have state sales tax. Anything you buy at the store usually gets charged about 7%. I think the state sales tax is actually like 6-point-something%, but then localities like the city of Minneapolis or the city of Fridley or the county, Hennepin County, they would add extra taxes on top of that too. So all of these commission, tips, and sales usually worked out using percents, and it's percent that gets added to some sort of dollar amount. I have a formula here for simple interest. To get simple interest, you would take your principal times your interest rate times how much time goes by. Principal is a fancy way to say starting amount. Starting amount. R stands for interest rate. That is usually given as a percentage that you have to convert to a decimal. And then T stands for time. And that can be given in any unit, but we want to report that in years in the formula. And then the I stands for interest. Both interest and principal are dollar amounts, but usually the interest is going to be the smaller dollar amount and the principal is going to be the larger dollar amount. So now that we have a couple of equations and definitions set up, let's do some math. Write and solve a proportion to answer the question. John earns 2.5% commission on sales. Find the commission earned when the total sales are $80,700. So we're going to use our proportions to do this. There are other ways to do percents, but since we're in a proportions chapter, let's stick with the same idea we talked about in the previous lesson. When we're given a percent, we're going to put that value over 100. And then remember, the part goes on the top and the whole goes on the bottom. So if his whole sales were $80,700, we want to know what he earns. We would put the variable on the top, and then we can cross multiply, divide, and that should bring us to our answer. So let's see. Let's get rid of that and that. We're going to do 80,700 times 2.5 divided by 100, and that tells us that John earns $2,017.50 for his sale. Letter B, calculate the tip on a $42.65 check using a tip rate of 15%. So, same idea, our percents go over 100, and our total check goes on the bottom. So we're going to figure out our tip on the top. Cross multiply and divide, that is 42 and 65 times 15 over 100. And we should be leaving a $6.40 tip on this $42 check. Last one says, calculate the tax on a $198 stereo when the sales tax is 5.25%. Percent over 100. And we'll put the stereo price on the bottom and figure out the tax on the top. 198 times 525 divided by 100. That looks like $10.40 going to my government. Letter B, use the simple interest formulas to answer the question. So that's way up top. Hopefully you have that written down on your paper. I got it in my brain, so we should be good to go. Find the amount of simple interest earned after 2 years on $480 invested at a 7% annual interest rate. So I'll write it again. Oops. Okay, so to get the interest, we need the principal. Principal is how much we start with. We start with $480 multiplied by the rate. The rate given is 7%, but I need to change that into a decimal. That's 0.07. Couple options for percents. Some calculators give you a percent button. If you type 7%, it'll tell you the decimal. You could mathematically calculate it. Percent means per 100, so you would take your value and divide it by 100. 7 divided by 100 would give you the decimal. But the easiest way is just take the decimal, slide it over 2 places, and fill in any openings with a 0. So that gives me 0.07 as a decimal. And for t, that's time, and I have 2 years. So all I have to do is multiply to calculate my simple interest. 480 times 7% times 2 years is $67.20. Letter B, find the total amount owed after 6 months on a loan of $900 at an annual interest rate of 8.5%. So principal, 900 times interest rate, 0.085. Again, move that decimal twice, or divide by 100, or use that percent button in your calculator. And then the last one is time. I have here 6 months, but I'm not going to put 6 in my formula. My formula for t is time in years, so 6 months is actually half, or 0.5, of a year. So, interest, 900 times 0.085 times 0.5 gives me $38.25. But we're not done. So, the last question asked me for interest. That's what I found, interest. This question asked me for total amount. This is not the total amount. This is the interest. So to get the total amount, we have to add what we originally borrowed to the interest that they're going to charge us. So we're going to add 900 plus 38.25 gives me a total amount of $938.25 to be repaid on my loan. And letter C, find the number of years it would take for $1,200 to earn simple interest of $324 at an annual rate of 6% per year. So I have my formula, but it's not actually asking me to calculate the interest. It's giving me the interest and wants me to use these values to figure out the time. So we know that 324 as my interest would equal my principal times my interest rate times some value for t. So I need to solve this equation. Easiest way to do that would be to undo all my operations. I'm going to undo my multiplies with divides. So 324 divided by 1,200 divided by 0.06 should tell me how much time this is going to take. looks like it's going to take me about 4.5 years to build this money in interest with the current terms. And that's it. Good luck on the exercises, and please let me know if you have any questions.